Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing really great and ready for today's video. Have any of you ever wondered why Voldemort never figured out that Harry Potter was actually a Horcrux? Even after everything that had happened, the Dark Lord still failed to discover that his mental connection to Harry was far too strong to not be investigated. Harry could even hear and see visions or clues revolving around each Horcrux, which gave him a massive advantage, and it was almost too little too late by the time the Dark Lord did discover that Harry not only knew about, but was actually hunting his Horcruxes in order to destroy them. So what happened? Why didn't Voldemort know Harry was a Horcrux? And why could Harry hear them? I'm going to answer all of those questions in today's video, so if this is the topic for you, then stick around, get comfy, and please enjoy. Okay everyone, let's get this video started because we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. So as I said in the video's introduction, Voldemort had no idea Harry was a Horcrux, nor did he even come close to discovering it. It even took him quite some time to figure out that Harry was hunting Horcruxes, and that was only because Harry let his guard down. So Voldemort, not so good at catching on to things, but the small, tiny, microscopic factor of him being immensely powerful and terrifying certainly makes up for it. Anyway, those are the two things that we're going to look at today. Why Voldemort never knew Harry was a Horcrux, and how Harry could hear and see visions of the Horcruxes he was hunting. So let's start with Harry being a Horcrux. Now, as many of you may know, unintentional Horcruxes aren't exactly common. In fact, Harry was most likely the first ever unintentional Horcrux, and I'm pretty certain Voldemort was unaware or unprepared for a scenario like that ever happening. Horcrux creation was already such a grey area anyway, but splitting one's soul to store it within an object, yeah, I'm going to say that is 100% intentional. Now you may wonder, had Voldemort no memory at all of his soul latching to Harry? Has he no recollection of anything that happened that night in Godric's Hollow? Well, the only thing he does remember is pain. He says the following: "Pain beyond pain, my friends. Nothing could have prepared me for it. I was ripped from my body. I was less than a spirit, less than a meaningless ghost. But still, I was alive. What I was, even I do not know. I who have gone further than anybody along the path that leads to immortality. You know my goal, to conquer death. And now I was tested, and it appeared that one or more of my experiments worked, for I had not been killed, though the curse should have done it. Nevertheless, I was as powerless as the weakest creature alive." So, all Voldemort remembers is the excruciating pain of being ripped from his body. Pain beyond pain, as he called it. He had no time whatsoever to absorb what was actually happening that night, even as part of him broke away and latched itself to Harry. Who knows, maybe that was how his spirit entity even survived in the first place, as his connecting soul shard was to that of a living thing. But that's a topic for another video. Maybe by now you guys can see how an idea for another video can come to me during a script for my current one. This actually happens quite a lot, but anyway, let's continue. Now, Voldemort wasn't a fool. He knew that he and Harry were connected in some manner. He was aware of that. He could see Harry's thoughts. He could feel Harry's presence, and Harry the same. The boy used this to a massive advantage over the Dark Lord. So, what was Voldemort's own reason for such a connection between the two? Well, Harry played an important part in Voldemort's rebirth, or his blood did. Harry's blood now flows within the Dark Lord's veins, something that was apparent and viewed as the reason for the link between the two by Voldemort himself. Now, this was a slight consequence that Voldemort was willing to pay in order to return to full-bodied form. In fact, I think he'd have done anything to return to full-bodied form. He was pretty much at his wits' end, don't forget. He was all but giving up. As we know, it took him using legilimency in order to discover what Harry was actually up to. From a technical standpoint, Voldemort had very little left of his soul within him. He had 5 Horcruxes created by the time he got to Godric's Hollow. Now, there's no measurement system of how much of his soul went into each Horcrux, so the only way we can do that is by basic mathematics, and going by my own calculations, he had less than 5% of his total soul within his human body, meaning half of that latched onto Harry, which is why he was left as such a hollow, spirit-like entity. That's not how someone should look after being killed with just one Horcrux created. The point I'm trying to make is that this caused Voldemort to have an incredibly weak connection to his Horcruxes. It's kind of like a phone battery being on 2%. It's not going to be able to do much before it dies out. So the Dark Lord didn't have the strength to link up with his Horcruxes, which is why he didn't feel the diary or the ring be destroyed. Even when he returned to his full human form, his soul within him was next to nothing, which severely weakened his connection to humanity and to being a wizard. Don't forget, he made a further Horcrux in Nagini while in rudimentary form, so he was already gone down a path he could most certainly not recover from. Instead of being a slave to mortality, he was now a slave to immortality. His life now depended on the survival of his Horcruxes and not his human form. This also could have possibly weakened his ties to magic. Even though there are sound reasons, 3 wands still failed Voldemort. His own wand would not kill for him. Lucius Malfoy's wand failed him. And the Elder Wand, which should have sensed Voldemort's greater power, resisted him. If Harry became the Elder Wand's master when he physically overpowered Draco, then shouldn't Voldemort have become its master when he physically overpowered Harry during their encounter? Seems like a contradiction if you ask me, but the point I'm making is the Dark Lord's connection to magic itself may have possibly been weakened due to there being so little humanity left within him. Anyway, what do you all think about that situation? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, let's continue and look at how Harry had such a strong connection to the other Horcruxes. Now, I know you're most likely thinking, well, Harry was able to find the Horcruxes because he was a Horcrux himself. That's the answer, yes. That's why, but it doesn't explain how, and I have to admit that it took some time for me to come up with a reason as to how Harry had these visions or was able to hear the Horcruxes. But if we actually look at the soul as a whole, single piece, it's pretty simple. The soul is not meant to be split apart. It's not designed for that, which is why the consequences of doing so are so dire. So a Horcrux unnaturally separates the soul, almost against its will, and forces it inside an object, against its will. Therefore, doesn't it make sense to think that these soul shards or soul pieces are somehow trying to pull themselves back together, back into one piece? Harry has part of Voldemort's soul within him, so these Horcruxes are trying to be found. They want Harry to find them. It also makes sense as to why the Dark Lord took such precautions to not only hide them from anyone looking for them, but to keep them from being found. That is why Harry can see them and hear them. They're trying to rejoin with the soul fragment within Harry. So what do you guys think of that scenario also? I definitely don't feel like it's too far-fetched and may even be plausible, but I'll leave that up to you in the comment section below. So guys, that's 2 things I want your opinions on. And anyway, with that being said, that is all for today's video. I really hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your support. Everyone, notifications of uploads are more important than ever. So please, if you haven't already, turn those notifications on to make sure you're notified the moment my video goes live. Making videos is what I love to do, it's my dream and my passion. However, it does cost time and money to produce this content, so if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDNJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore. Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.